President Bola Tinubu issued a directive that was supposed to change how police officers operate in Nigeria, specifically targeting the controversial practice of VIP police escorts and protection details that have become a status symbol for the wealthy and powerful. The president wanted these officers back on the streets, doing actual police work, protecting everyday Nigerians instead of serving as personal bodyguards for those who can afford to pay for such privileges. But what should have been a straightforward reform has turned into something quite different, revealing just how deep the rot goes in the system and how determined some people are to maintain their privileges no matter what the rules say. The directive was clear and unambiguous. Police officers assigned to VIP protection duties were to be withdrawn and reassigned to regular policing operations where the country desperately needs them. Nigeria faces serious security challenges, from banditry in the northwest to insurgency in the northeast, kidnapping across multiple states, and general crime that affects ordinary citizens every single day. The logic was simple and sound. Why should trained police officers be standing around as glorified accessories for politicians, business people, and socialites when communities are crying out for protection? The president's order was meant to address this imbalance and restore some sanity to how police resources are allocated. But here is where the story gets really interesting and frankly quite disturbing. Rather than comply with the presidential directive, many of these officers have simply found creative ways around it. They are not returning to their barracks or reporting for regular duty as ordered. Instead, they have become masters of disguise and deception. Some have ditched their official police uniforms and are now dressing as private security guards or vigilantes, complete with all the unofficial gear that makes them look like civilian protection officers rather than members of the Nigeria police force. Others have taken to wearing plain clothes and presenting themselves as personal drivers or assistants to their wealthy patrons, all while still carrying out the same VIP protection duties they were doing before. The transformation is quite elaborate when you think about it. These officers show up at events, they provide security, they clear paths through traffic, they do everything they did before, just without the obvious police uniform that would immediately flag them as violating the presidential order. Their clients, the wealthy individuals who have grown accustomed to having police escorts as part of their entourage, are more than happy to facilitate this charade. After all, having armed protection officers makes a statement about your importance and influence, whether those officers are in uniform or not. But the scheme goes even deeper than simple costume changes. According to investigations and reports emerging from within the force itself, money is changing hands to make this whole arrangement work smoothly. Officers are reportedly paying bribes to their superiors and to administrative staff to ensure they can resume these lucrative VIP protection duties without officially being reassigned to them. The amounts vary, but the principle is the same. If you pay the right people the right amount, you can continue earning the substantial side income that comes from protecting wealthy clients while technically appearing to comply with the president's directive on paper. Think about what this means for a moment. We have a situation where the president of the country issues a direct order meant to improve security for regular citizens, and that order is being systematically undermined through a combination of disguises and corruption. The police officers involved are not facing consequences because they have greased the right palms. The wealthy clients are not being held accountable because they can claim they hired private security, even though everyone knows these are serving police officers. And the system continues as before, with resources that should be protecting communities instead being diverted to make rich people feel important. This is not just about a few officers bending the rules. This speaks to a much larger problem in how institutions function in Nigeria and how difficult it is to implement genuine reform when corruption has become so normalized that people don't even try to hide it anymore. They just find slightly more creative ways to continue their schemes. The officers paying bribes are not worried about being caught because they know the system protects those who pay to play. The superiors accepting these bribes are confident they will face no real consequences because accountability mechanisms are weak or non-existent. And if you are watching this and finding yourself nodding along because none of this surprises you, please hit that subscribe button because we bring you these stories that reveal what is really happening behind the official announcements and press releases. The implications extend beyond just this particular directive. If a presidential order can be so easily circumvented through disguises and bribes, what does that say about the government's ability to implement any meaningful reform? What message does it send to ordinary Nigerians who are constantly told to obey the law and respect authority when those in positions of power, including law enforcement officers themselves, openly flout directives with impunity? The cynicism this breeds is perhaps even more damaging than the immediate security implications of having police officers in the wrong assignments. For the average Nigerian struggling with insecurity in their neighborhood, this story is particularly galling. You cannot get police to respond quickly when armed robbers strike your community, but wealthy individuals still have multiple armed officers at their beck and call, officers who are supposed to be available for public safety duties. You are told there are not enough police to patrol your streets, but somehow there are enough police to escort convoys of SUVs carrying people to parties and social events. The inequity is stark, and the fact that it continues despite presidential directives makes it even more frustrating. What makes this situation almost comico-tragic is the elaborate nature of the disguises and the open secret that everyone seems to know about. It is not as if these arrangements are deeply hidden. People recognize the same faces providing security, just in different outfits. The tactics are the same, the personnel are the same, only the uniforms have changed. Yet the charade continues because it serves the interests of those with money and power, while the system lacks the will or capacity to enforce compliance with the president's order. Make sure to like this video if you found this information valuable, because it helps us reach more people who need to understand how these systems really work. The story of these disguised officers and the bribes facilitating their continued VIP duties is still developing, and there may be more revelations to come about just how widespread this practice has become and which specific individuals are benefiting most from undermining the directive. Stay tuned to this channel for updates as this story continues to unfold.